Hey everyone. So since I have been doing a series of videos on what it's like being a PM intern, I thought I'd share with you a recording of a conversation that I had with my mentor recently, and just offer some perspective on what it's actually like working at Microsoft and what it's like being a full-time PM and his general thoughts of Microsoft culture. Do you start by just introducing yourself and how long you've been at Microsoft and how you got to Microsoft?
Yeah. My name's Patrick Hayes. I've been at Microsoft for about 5 years now. I started back in July of 2015. I studied computer engineering when I was in school, and I knew that I wanted to work in the computing and the tech industry. But I also knew that the things like the skills that I'm the best at are communication, organization, bringing people together, like being able to kind of understand the different factors that influence our ability to complete engineering work and do a project. And it's really ultimately problem solving at the end of the day. It's like everything that we do. And so I knew that those were the skills that I was the best at, rather than my actual coding skills and my knowledge of advanced computer science theory. And so that was the reason why I decided I wanted to interview to be a PM. And then just as I went through my interviews and as I learned more about the role, I realized that it was the exact perfect thing for me, because you're still very technical, you're immersed in the technology, you're working every day alongside developers. But at the end of the day, there are so many other skills that are needed for software development besides being able to write code. And so that's really the value that we bring to the table. And always fun to just be constantly learning and be constantly picking up new skills. And I think that's really a core part of being a PM as well.
There a reason why a lot of PMs tend to have an engineering background? Because a lot, like you said, a lot of the skills are just communication and clarifying things, which are skills that I think a lot of majors have. So is there a reason why a lot of PMs tend to have technical backgrounds?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I think that my honest opinion is that if more PMs came from non-technical backgrounds, we would be a better company for it. I think what you'll often see is that people who make moves later in their career, where they hop from one industry to another, will often come into the program management discipline for the very first time working in tech, where they might have before worked in insurance or healthcare, or even working in a government position or working for a nonprofit. And so exactly like you said, a lot of the skills that we need as PMs to facilitate software development, you can build those skills outside of the software industry, and you can pretty much transfer them across any industry from a people management and from a business management perspective. And so, yeah, short answer is I think it would be better if we had less technical engineering degrees and we had more people coming from backgrounds in the arts, people coming from backgrounds in sociology and studying, just people. And I think that there are people with those backgrounds spread across program management roles within Microsoft. And I think some of those people bring the most unique perspectives to the table, and and are really effective at their job, even if they didn't come from a traditional engineering background. To answer your question too, I think the reason why a lot of new PMs, people who came right out of college and who are still in their 20s, who are PMs, have the technical engineering background, because it kind of just is a requirement when you want to get started in the software industry. You either have to have a software engineering degree, or you have to have 5+ years of industry experience. And so for new young employees who are coming into the program management discipline, we can't satisfy that 5+ years of some related industry experience aspect of the job requirements. And so a lot of just the foot that we use to get into the door is an engineering degree.
Flip side of that, do you feel like you've used anything that you've learned from a technical standpoint or just a problem solving standpoint in your role as a PM, from the degree that you got?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that the most useful classes and skills that transferred over towards my day job as a PM now were the later like senior design project level kind of courses. And those are a great opportunity to like test out if you want to be a PM as well, because people will naturally fall into different roles when there's like, you know, a group large semester long project that happens in a college class. And so, you know, if you have 3 or 4 people on your team, the only way that you can like get that work done effectively and have like a good outcome on like a senior design level project is to like identify everybody's strengths, you know, delegate like the tasks that align with everybody's strengths, and then also to have someone who's, you know, going above and beyond just more of the technical implementation, who's keeping track of things like timelines and keeping track of things like, you know, understanding the blockers to like, you know, getting the project done and being able to identify ways to get around those blockers. And so I know I definitely took on that role when I was completing my capstone like senior courses, and that was also one of the reasons why I knew that as I learned more about the PM discipline, like why I knew that I was going to enjoy being a PM was because I found a lot of parallels between what I heard the job being about and with my own experience, you know, kind of leading a team in those senior design level classes.
On a like unrelated question, I've noticed a lot at Microsoft that people are focused on like growth and like gaining new skills, at least among people who are early in career that I've noticed. So I was wondering, like, how do you feel like you've grown at Microsoft since you've been here, and like where do you want to go next, or like what skills do you think that you want to work on in the future?
Yeah. I think that like the main skills that you build are just, it sounds cheesy. I think like confidence is a big one. I think the more experience that you have, the more confident you are in your ability to like get a job done and to do it right. And so that's like a really intangible thing, really difficult thing to measure. But I think that like that is the biggest thing that like years and years of like job experience will give you, is just like this feeling that like, yeah, I can like, to know that like something is complicated and that you don't know anything about it, but to know that like, hey, in 6 months, like I will be fully aware of like the problem space and I will be able to like contribute some amount of value. That's like the biggest thing that I think I've learned.
On a separate question, I feel like before coming to Microsoft, I had the impression that because Microsoft was such a huge company, that like the work area that you'd be working in is like pretty small and like not that important. But I was wondering, like, do you feel like the job that you're doing, like, you have a sense of purpose and like fulfillment from doing it, and you can like see the impact that you're doing? Because I feel like that it's important to like when you're working to feel like you're working towards something.
Yeah, no, and I felt the exact same way when I was coming into. I thought that I would be a very small cog in a very big machine, and in a lot of ways I am. But once you started to realize, or once I started to realize just how many complex moving pieces there are surrounding like what might at first seem like a simple piece of software or a simple process that we have to follow, and once you start thinking about the scale of like the problems that we are trying to solve for literally billions of people, or for you know, like trillions of like hours of like computational complexity that happens in the cloud, and all the like really like astounding networking technologies that exist to like get terabytes worth of data across a wire and, you know, over in 1 second across an undersea fiber optic cable from Europe to North America. I mean, like once you start thinking about things in that scale, and you start to realize that you know, for 50,000 engineers to be working here, if even when you take each individual engineer and you divide up all the total amount of you know, software work that there is to be done in our industry, yeah, and then you start to realize that like each person does have like a really large ownership area. Each person really does have an impact that they make, and it has to be that way.
I think I came into the summer being like, so like, what is a PM? Like, I'm an intern, but like, what does that mean? And I feel like, even though it's not as concrete as like, oh, I'm writing code for this feature, I think what you explained is like a pretty good summary of like what a PM does on a, like a high level.
Yeah, no, I think that it's it's really difficult to pin down one single definition for like the entire discipline as well. Like every company has their own kind of breakdown of, you know, what are the different roles that the engineers actually uh, hold, I guess is the right word. And what's like the level of engagement expected like from each of those people in their unique roles. And so Microsoft is like, we were really the pioneers of the PM discipline. PMs redefined how we can provide value to our customers, and we canceled some projects and we spun up some new projects, and now we're on the path towards you know, actually being the most valuable company that we can be to billions of people around the world who depend on our services. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for like answering these questions and being willing to be recorded for this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Hope you found something useful from this conversation. I know that I certainly did. Thanks for watching, and I hope you got something out of it.